day, students. This is BAM040 and our lesson for today is the module number 16, which is the consumer equilibrium using derivative. Let us know first the objectives of it. By the end of the lesson, you should already know 1. How to explain the concept of consumer equilibrium point or the CEP. 2. How to compute the CEP using derivative. But before we go to the lesson proper, I'm going to give you first a short insight about our topic for today. So what is consumer equilibrium point? Consumer equilibrium point is a circumstance wherein a consumer spends his limited income in one or more goods in order to get a maximum satisfaction. You maybe now have an idea about our lesson. Let us now begin our discussion.
It is possible to determine the optimal consumption or the utility maximization level of goods X and Y, and this is called the consumer equilibrium point. The consumer equilibrium point answers the question, to attain the utility maximization or satisfaction, how many units of goods of X and Y should the consumer buy given the prices and the income? With the consumer equilibrium point, we can determine the utility maximization level of goods X and Y with different possible preferences of the consumer spending combination of goods X and Y.
10 different curves of IC1, IC2, and IC3 shows the different possible preferences of the consumer for spending combination of good X and Y. Questions. Which of the following point in the graph represents the consumer equilibrium point? The answer is A. Point E is the consumer equilibrium point because this is where the budget line AB is tangent to indifference curve IC2. This means that consumer satisfaction on IC2 is within the budget or income. Point H is not the answer because although it is the farthest from the origin, it is no longer within the budget line of the consumer.
Derivative. The use of derivative in consumer behavior measure the reaction of the consumers in changing prices and changing income. Also, is a contract between two parties in which the value or price of the contract is determined by the underlying asset. Futures, options, forward contracts, and swaps are the most prevalent derivatives. In most cases, the underlying asset is comprised of stocks, bonds, currency, commodities, and interest rates.
How to compute or measure derivative? In computing or measuring derivative, it is necessary to identify the form of that function. There are rules in calculating or measuring derivative. The rule is if y is equals to ax raised to n, where a is the coefficient, x is the variable, and y is the exponent. And also, the derivative y is the exponent n times the coefficient multiplied by the variable x raised to the exponent minus 1.
The derivative, for example, y is equals to 4x to the third. To answer it, step 1. Since 4 is constant with respect to x, the derivative of 4x to the third is 4 d over dx is x to the third. Step 2. Differentiate using the power rule, which states that d over dx x to the n is nx to the n minus 1 where n is equals to 3. So, 4 multiplied by 3x squared. Step 3, multiply 3 by 4. So, the answer is 12x squared.
Good day everyone, I'm Giselle Igniliosa, and in this part I will explain the consumer equilibrium point computation using derivative. This concept of derivative will be used in answering the numerical examples below. So we have given here two goods, which is good X and good Y. The price of good X is 8 pesos, while the good Y is 4 pesos. The first thing that we will do is to determine the budget equation wherein the formula is the price of good X plus the price of good Y equals M, or the income. Next is B. to determine the number of maximum units of X and Y spent given the income of 40 pesos, which later be used in our graph for budget line because the number of maximum units of good X and Y will be the data that we will use for our X and Y intercept. Next is C. So what will be the consumer equilibrium point? There are 5 sub-processes in computing CEP. These are: first, express the budget equation in terms of X or in terms of Y. Second, form the utility function. Third, get the derivative of utility function. Fourth, equate to 0 to determine X or Y. And last is to substitute the value obtained from fourth and second part. Letter D. Show the graphical presentation. This graphical presentation will show the maximum utility or satisfaction given the income of 40 pesos and price of good X and Y, which is 8 pesos and 4 pesos respectively. And to answer the problems, Michelle will show you the computation and the graphical presentation. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shalomar Pantaleon, and I'll be discuss the first and second step in answering the given problem, already mentioned by Miss Nilosa. So without further ado, let's start with the first step. So the first thing we need to do is to form budget equation. So how do we get budget equation? We can get it simply by following the standard form, which is price of good X plus price of good Y is equal to M, which is the income. So substitute natin, 8 is the price of good X, 4 is the price of good Y, then 40 is the income of consumer. So by allocating the budget wisely, we need to consider the consumer preference kung saan naka-state kung ano ba yung preferred nila na goods, yun nga yung X and Y, at kung ano ba yung budget na meron sila or yung kaya nila. Now, it's time to know how many units can consumer get or buy sa good na X and Y na swak sa kanilang income. So, for the step 2, we need to determine the maximum unit of good X and good Y. We have the formula here where maximum unit is equal to income divided by price of goods. So, let's try natin una sa good X. Para makuha natin yung maximum unit ni good X, income divided by price ni good X, where 40 is the income, 8 is the price ni good X, 40 divided by 8 is equal to 5 units. So, meaning, 5 units ang ma-maximize natin sa income na 40. So, proceed naman tayo dun sa product ni good Y. Para makuha yung product ni good Y, same process, where income divided by price of good Y. Income is 40 divided by 4 is equal to 10 units. So, 10 units yung ma-maximize natin sa income na 40. So, here's the list of maximum price and unit na kayang i-attain ni consumer considering the income or budget na mayroon sila. Maximum unit of good X is 5, for good Y is 10. So, that's all for my part. Let's hear the others.
Step 3. Compute CEP by expressing the budget equation in terms of X or in terms of Y. So the budget equation is 8x plus 4y equals 40 may be expressed in terms of x. Thus, 8x equals 40 minus 4y. X equals 40 minus 4y over 8. X is equals to 5 minus 0.50y. Now, let's see how can it express in terms of y. The budget equation is 8x plus 4y equals 40. So, 4y equals 40 minus 8x. Y equals 40 minus 8x over 4. Y is equals to 10 minus 0.50x. U is equals to 5y minus 0.50y squared. Now, get the derivative of utility function. U equals 5y minus 0.50y squared. Du over dy equals 5 minus y. Equate to 0 to determine x or y. 5 minus y equals 0, y equals 5. So for the last, substitute the value obtained in 3.4 to the budget equation in 3.1. X is equals to 5 minus 0.50y. X equals to 5 minus 0.50 multiplied by 5. X is equals to 5 minus 2.50. So x is equals to 2.50. So for the answer, CEP is X and Y or 2.50 and 5.
So for our graphical presentation interpretation, the utility is maximized when a consumer spends 2.5 units of good X and 5 units of good Y, given his income of 40 pesos and the prices of good X is 8 pesos while the price of good Y is 4 pesos.
From the previous reporter, you learned the step-by-step process of computing a CEP using a derivative. So to have everyone understand it better, I'll go over one more example. So our example, Scent produced 2 new candles, scented and unscented. The price of scented is 20 pesos, while the price of unscented is 10 pesos. Determine the equilibrium point with a given income of 100 pesos. Step 1. Form the budget equation using its standard form. 20x plus 10x is equal to 100. 20 is the price of the scented and 10 is the price of unscented. Determine the number of maximum units of X and Y candle given the income of 100 pesos. So first, we will have the maximum of X. Maximum of X is equal to income divided by price of X. So 100 divided by 20 is equal to 5 units. Next one is maximum of Y. Maximum of Y is equal to income divided by price of Y. 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10 units. Step 3. Compute CEP. Step 3.1. Express the budget equation in terms of X or in terms of Y. The budget equation 20x plus 10y is equal to 100 may be expressed in terms of X. 20x is equal to 100 minus 10y. X is equal to 100 minus 10y divided by 20. X is equal to 10 minus 0.5y. The budget equation of 20x plus 10y is equal to 100 may be expressed in terms of y. 10y is equal to 100 minus 20x. Y is equal to 100 minus 20x over 10. Y is equal to 10 minus 2x. Step 3.2. Form the utility function u is equal to x, y. Get the value of x and y in step 3.1. So as you can see at the PowerPoint, you just need to apply the number from 3.1. U is equal to xy. U is equal to opposite 10 minus 0.5y close parenthesis y. U is equal to 10y minus 0.5 y squared. 10 has the y and 0.5 has y squared because we multiply it in y. Step 3.3. Get the derivative of the utility function. U is equal to 10y minus 0.5y squared. Du is equal to 10 minus 0.5 times 0.5 and du is equal to 10 minus 1y or 10 minus y. So now, we determine the CEP or the consumer price equilibrium 5 and 10. 5 is the X, 10 is the Y. So the last step, step 4, show the graphical presentation. As you can see at the monitor, the utility is maximized if the consumer spends 10 units of scented and 5 units of unscented given his income of 100 and the price of scented is 20 and unscented is 10.
As we all know, consumer equilibrium point or CEP signifies a condition of complete satisfaction, a condition in which a consumer spends his given income on one or more commodities in order to obtain maximum satisfaction and has no desire to change his consumption level given product pricing. CEP can be computed using derivative. It assesses how customers act to changes in prices and income.
The goal of a consumer is to get maximum satisfaction from the commodities he purchases. At the same time, the consumer possesses limited resources, Hence, he is trying to maximize his satisfaction by allocating the available resources like money or income among various goods and services rationally. Any deviation or change in allocation of income under the given circumstance will lead to a fall in satisfaction. At the end of our report, I hope you have learned something that you can apply to your life.